Good evening and a very warm welcome. You're watching India Votes. I'm Sana Khan. Let's take a look at what's making headlines. Voting in the third phase of polling comes to an end. Moderate voting across 91 constituencies in 11 states and 3 union territories. The fates of more than 1,400 candidates have been sealed in EVM, several heavyweights including union ministers in the fray. Voting for the single Lok Sabha seat in Mizoram will be held on Friday after the Election Commission postponed polling date by 3 days. And the Election Commission seeks recordings of Mamata Banerjee's speech against the poll panel after its order to transfer state officials. Voting for the third phase of Lok Sabha polls has taken place today. The electorate of as many as 91 constituencies spread in different parts of the country cast their vote. Let's have a look at how India voted in the third phase.
Moderate to brisk polling was recorded in the third phase of the Lok Sabha elections 2014. Spread across 11 states and 3 union territories, including the national capital, polling was held across 91 constituencies. Long queues were witnessed at polling stations across Delhi, where polling was held for all 7 constituencies. A number of enthusiastic first-time voters flocked the polling booths.
एक राइट है वोट डालना, अपने कैंडिडेट को चूज करने का अपना एक मोटिवेशन मिलता है खुद को ही कि अपनी तरफ से हम कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं कंट्री के लिए।
लोका ने पढ़ाई वाले गवर्नमेंट आवे, लोटो गवर्नमेंट ना आवे।
In neighbouring Haryana, which also faced polls for all 10 Lok Sabha seats, polling began on a dull note. But it picked up during the day as more than 40% of the 1.6 crore voters cast their vote in the first 6 hours of polling. A minor clash was reported in Hisar, where workers of 2 parties indulged in a fight.
आज कुलदीप बिश्नोई का पथराव किया जाता है और पुलिस वाले साइड में खड़े होकर अंधेरे खड़े हुए। ये बात साफ है कि सरकार और हुड्डा घबरा गई कि सरकार हजका भाजपा की बन रही है, लेकिन हम डरने वाले लोग नहीं हैं।
An impressive voter turnout was reported from the southern state of Kerala. Long queues of voters were seen in urban as well as rural areas as polling proceeded in a peaceful manner. Moderate to brisk polling was also reported in other states like Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir and UT's Chandigarh, Andaman and Lakshadweep. Odisha too witnessed average polling. Moderate polling was also witnessed in western UP, where polling was held in 10 constituencies.
हमको चाहिए कि हम एक अच्छे नेता का चुनाव करें, कर्मठ नेता का चुनाव करें जो हमारी प्रगति के लिए, हमारे विकास के लिए सोचे।
आज जिस दिन की लोगों को उम्मीद थी कि 2014 आएगा, हम अपनी मन मर्जी की सरकार बनाएंगे, हिंदुस्तान की सरकार बनाएंगे, इस सिलसिले में आज लोगों में बहुत खुशी की उमंग बढ़ी हुई है।
However, polling in Naxal-affected states of Bihar, Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh was marred by violence. A cache of explosives were recovered from Maoist stronghold Bastar in Chhattisgarh. 6 can bombs were also seized in Gaya district of Bihar. Massive security was deployed in the Naxal-affected regions.
We have already deployed all the police personnel in and around all the police polling stations, especially LWE polling stations and other critical polling stations. We have received central paramilitary force from ITBP and CRPF, and the state polices are also there.
The fourth phase of voting will be held on Saturday, with 5 seats in 3 states going to polls. The next big phase of polling will be held in the 5th phase on 17th April, where as many as 121 constituencies will go to polls. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, to get a sense from the ground, I'm now being joined in by my colleague Anu Devan. She joins me live from New Delhi. Anu, if you can tell us, reports coming in say that in Delhi, we might have just broken the record of all previous elections, the assembly elections and the 2009 elections. The estimated numbers coming in till 5 p.m. is 60%. What is the sense that you're getting?
Yeah, Sana, definitely. According to 2009 election, it was overall 51.9%, and in 2014 till 5 p.m. the Delhi Election Commission has recorded 60% voters, 60% voting till now, till 5 p.m. And we can see that how much the record has gone up. In the assembly election, if we talk, it was only 67%, and the voting was till 6 p.m. today. So we can expect there is a much more higher percentage we can record this time in Delhi in the Lok Sabha election. So now I also have few young voters along with me, so I would like to talk to them also. I have young voters. I would like to ask you that what are the issues on which you have voted? You are the first time voters. What was your view about the voting in the Lok Sabha election?
See, I want just a government who can provide new opportunities in job sectors for us, for the youth. I just vote that I am an unemployed person.
Sana, these voters came just before 6 p.m. because the voting time was 6 p.m. only till 6 p.m. Right. These all youngsters turned at the last moment and voted for their right. I would like to ask one more person about what all the issues were on which he has casted his vote. I would like to ask you, what are the issues on which you have casted your vote?
My issue is very simple. This is my first experience, and I just only want that government who make my country a heaven on earth.
So these were the views of the young voters, first-time voters. They wanted the development in their country. They wanted their country to be made a heaven. Their issues like the employment and all the facilities which are to be provided to the youth.
Right.
These were the issues.
It's quite encouraging, Anu, how these young first-time voters are so involved in the process. Actually great that they've come out and voted for change as they're seeking. They want more jobs, better opportunities for their future. Anu, I'd like you to please stay on with us. I'm going to come back to you in just a bit. But before that, a report on 2 CRPF jawans who were killed and 3 others injured in a landmine blast in Bihar this morning. The blast took place in Jamui parliamentary constituency just hours before the start of polling in the area. The blast occurred when a team of CRPF and the Bihar police were travelling in 2 jeeps to reach a polling station in Jamui. The Maoists triggered an IED planted under the bridge which the security officials were crossing. While 2 CRPF jawans succumbed to injuries, 3 others were taken to a nearby hospital in Munger district. Following the attack, additional forces were deployed in the region to prevent more such instances. The Jamui constituency is one among the 6 Maoist-hit constituencies in Bihar that went to polls today.
हम लोग गाड़ी से मेन रोड से जा रहे थे उधर और ब्लास्ट के बम का वो आईडी फटा बोल रही थी साइड में थी आईडी गाड़ी पे तो नहीं लगा लेकिन गाड़ी साइड से लगा जिसकी वजह से हम लोग भी फायर करने के बाद वो लोग बहुत भाग गए लोग रात था अंधेरा दिखाई नहीं दे रहा.
And a host of heavyweight candidates were in the fray today in the 3rd phase of elections. After casting their votes, the contestants expressed their confidence to win. Here's a look at some of the key contestants in this phase and what they had to say.
The fates of a number of prominent candidates have been sealed in the 3rd phase of voting on Thursday. The leaders exercised their franchisee and urged people to vote for a better India. Here's a look at some of the big contests that took place in different parts of the country. In the capital's New Delhi constituency, Congress's Ajay Makan is pitted against lawyer-turned-politician Meenakshi Lekhi of the BJP and journalist-turned-politician Ashish Khaitan of the Aam Aadmi Party. After the December Delhi election, in which the AAP made a strong debut, Makan is believed to have a tough fight on his hands, while others hope to turn the tables this time.
I'm very hopeful that in Delhi we are going to do very well, and I'm very hopeful that we'll win all the 7 seats.
दिल्ली के अंदर भारतीय जनता पार्टी की 7 सीटें होंगी और बीजेपी जीतेगी और अगले प्रधानमंत्री भारत के नरेंद्र मोदी होंगे.
10 साल से कांग्रेस केंद्र में है, 15 साल से कांग्रेस दिल्ली में थी, तो जो पहली बार वोट करने जा रहे हैं उन्होंने कांग्रेस के अलावा किसी और पार्टी को दिल्ली राज्य में और केंद्र में सत्ता में नहीं देखा है, तो उन्होंने जो देखा है उसके आधार पर वोट करेंगे.
In the Chandni Chowk constituency in Delhi, Union Minister Kapil Sibal is seeking to score a hat-trick, but is facing a stiff challenge from Delhi BJP Chief Harshvardhan and AAP's candidate Ashutosh, a former journalist.
हर इलेक्शन अपने आप में एक चुनौती होती है और पहले भी 2 इलेक्शन में चुनौतियां थी, इस बार भी है.
In UP's Ghaziabad, BJP's VK Singh is facing former actor Raj Babbar from Congress and AAP's Shazia Ilmi. The constituency has voted BJP since 1991.
आपको हर तरफ से वोट मिल रहा है, तो ये बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज हम देख रहे हैं इसमें. और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही पॉजिटिव रहेगा। लोग वाकई में गाजियाबाद में बहुत चेंज चाहते हैं।
देखिए, लोगों का बहुत उत्साह है चुनाव को लेके और मुझे उम्मीद है कि पोलिंग अच्छी होगी।
In Haryana's Gurgaon, the constituency bordering Delhi in the south, AAP leader Yogendra Yadav is challenging the BJP's three-term MP and former Union Minister Rao Inderjeet Singh. The Congress has fielded its three-time MLA Rao Dharampal from this seat.
इस बार वोट डालने कुछ मजा और है। ऐसा लग रहा है कि सिर्फ सत्ता इस वोट से शायद परिवर्तित ना हो, व्यवस्था भी परिवर्तित हो। तो बड़ी उम्मीद और उमंग से मैं भी और मैं समझता हूं कि हर देशवासी इस बार वोट डाल रहा है।
In Chandigarh, former Railway Minister Pawan Kumar Bansal, a four-term MP, is being challenged by two actors, Kiran Kher of the BJP and AAP's Gul Panag.
हर इंसान को निकलकर वोट डालनी चाहिए अपनी, और बहुत जरूरी है बिकॉज अगर आप अपना वोट नहीं एक्सरसाइज करते तो बाद में ग्रम्बल नहीं करना चाहिए कि गवर्नमेंट ने ये नहीं किया वो नहीं किया। आपका काम है सही इंसान को चुनकर भेजना।
पहले से और अच्छा होगा क्योंकि काम किया है, लोग काम को रिवॉर्ड करते हैं। मैं समझता हूँ जो जितना काम किया है लोग उसके कारण, क्योंकि यहाँ सोशल और फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, स्वास्थ्य में और शिक्षा के केंद्र हैं।
In Nagpur, in Maharashtra, former BJP chief Nitin Gadkari is facing off against an activist who has run a relentless campaign against him, accusing him of corruption. Anjali Damania is the AAP candidate.
मेरा पूरा विश्वास है कि लोग इस बार परिवर्तन चाहते हैं और मैं विश्वास के साथ कह सकता हूं कि इस समय का वोट चेंज के लिए है, क्योंकि भ्रष्टाचार और महंगाई से लोग पूरी तरह से त्रस्त हुए हैं और परिवर्तन चाहते हैं और निश्चित रूप से लोग एनडीए को, भाजपा को जिताएंगे, ये मेरा विश्वास है।
In Kerala, the candidates in fray include 6 union ministers: Shashi Tharoor, K. Suresh, K.C. Venugopal, K.V. Thomas, M. Ramachandran.
Overall in Kerala, UDF is doing very well. This time we will be better than the last year. Even you can go up to 20 after 20.
Union Minister Ghulam Nabi Azad is seeking a re-election from Jammu seat. He exuded confidence to repeat his feat this time too.
Congress will form UPA 3, that is 100% sure, and there is no chance for NDA whatsoever.
Apart from the candidates in fray, several key leaders also cast their votes today in the capital. The Gandhi family, including Priyanka Gandhi, queued up at polling station to cast their votes. AAP convener Arvind Kejriwal also exercised his franchisee. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Right, my colleague Anu Devan is still standing by. Anu, what's interesting in these particular elections is that the political stalwarts, heavyweights who stood unopposed in previous elections have a strong fight this time in many seats, especially if we talk about these 7 seats in Delhi. You're on the ground. What is the sense that you're getting? You must be talking to a lot of voters through the day-to-day.
Definitely, Sana, earlier elections were unopposed election, and this time what we are seeing, it's a three-way election. All three political parties are giving their very heavyweight candidates to the voters. Now, if you talk about Chandni Chowk constituency, it already had Kapil Sibal from last 2 years, and third time he also is a candidate from the Congress from the same constituency. And apart from him, the opposition, Dr. Harshvardhan, who is known for his clean image from the BJP, and also Ashutosh, former journalist, is also a heavyweight candidate for the voters. And if we get into these all three candidates have their own image for the voters, their own promises for the voters, and these three candidates also are holding a tough fight in the constituency. When we get into the New Delhi constituency, it was Ajay Makan's constituency from the last 2 years, and now this time third also Ajay Makan is contesting from Congress. And apart from him, the opposition is Meenakshi Lekhi, who is also BJP spokesperson plus a senior advocate, and also opposition to him is Ashish Khaitan from Aam Aadmi Party. So these are also the toughest fight in the Delhi election we can see, where Aam Aadmi Party emerged after the Delhi Assembly election, taking 28 seats
in many of the seats. Thanks so much for joining us with the details. Nevertheless, the fates of all these candidates have been sealed for at least these more 91 constituencies across the country. Now, continuing with more election news, along with its 10 Lok Sabha seats, 70 out of the 147 assembly seats in Odisha also went to polls today. Simultaneously, brisk polling was reported with 45% votes cast till 1 p.m. People stood in long queues outside the polling centres in many places before the balloting started at 7 a.m. Voting has been largely peaceful in the state. There are 688 aspirants for 70 assembly seats in this phase. Prominent among them is Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, who is seeking re-election from Hinjli constituency in Ganjam district. More than 50 of the 70 seats fall in Maoist-affected areas. The EC had engaged 156 companies of central paramilitary forces, besides about 27,000 personnel of the state police to ensure free and fair election. And Odisha's Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik, in an exclusive interview to Rajya Sabha TV, has said that BJP's Prime Ministerial candidate Narendra Modi is a controversial character and has communal associations. In a rare interview to media, he said Modi wave had it was indeed a hoax and there was no resurgence of the BJP in Odisha as perceived by certain sections of the media. Also added that even if the NDA government came to power at the centre, he would not have anything to do with the party in terms of an alliance. We caught up with Odisha's Chief Minister while he was campaigning in the coastal region of the state that will go to polls on the 17th of this month.
I think it's early days for the third front. Let's await the results of the elections.
Okay.
Then we can see. Well, I think, you see, he's a controversial candidate.
Okay.
And that communal shadow remains, which isn't healthy for the country.
And you must catch that entire interview with Naveen Patnaik. That's at 10 p.m. tonight on our show, To The Point. We're taking a very short break at this point in time, but I'll be back. Some more election news is coming up next. Thanks for staying with us. Now, voting will be held for the single Lok Sabha seat in Mizoram on Friday. The elections were earlier scheduled to be held in the second phase on Tuesday, but a statewide bandh forced the Election Commission to shift the dates. Around 7 lakh voters are expected to cast their votes to decide the fate of 3 candidates there. Here's a look.
Mizoram is set to witness a triangular contest among the ruling Congress, Aam Aadmi Party and United Democratic Front for the single seat in fray on Friday. A total of 7.2 lakh voters are expected to vote in 1,126 polling stations across the state to elect the state's representative. 3 candidates are in fray, sitting MP C.L. Raula from Congress, Aam Aadmi Party's N. Lalman Zuala and Robert Romavia Royte, an independent supported by the 8-party opposition alliance called United Democratic Front. In 2009, Congress won the election by a huge margin. Now with the unified opposition and the new entrant AAP in fray, Congress' job will be tough. The elections in Mizoram were earlier scheduled to be held in the second phase on Tuesday, but a 72-hour statewide bandh in Mizoram forced the Election Commission to defer the polling date. The decision was taken after a statewide bandh was called to protest against the exercise of franchisee by Bru voters in 6 relief camps in Tripura through postal ballots. The bypoll 2 Rangturjo assembly seat will also take place on the same day. Repolling, if any, will be held on 14th of April. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the Election Commission today asked for the CDs of all election meetings of Trinamool Congress Chief Mamata Banerjee in which she attacked the poll panel. The directive came barely a day after the state government reluctantly agreed to abide by the EC's order of transfer of top officials on election duty after initial resistance. The State Election Commission has already asked the district magistrates concerned to collect the CDs of all the meetings Mamata Banerjee addressed and send them to the Chief Election Officer's office immediately. In several election rallies in the district over the last 2 days, TMC chief launched a scathing attack on the poll body and even targeted some of the officials of the body for giving the directive on removal of 7 officials assigned on poll duty. She had not only condemned the EC for what she alleged showing partiality in giving the order, but even dared the poll panel to implement its order. And in an affidavit filed before the Election Commission, BJP's Prime Ministerial nominee Narendra Modi showed himself as a married man, revealing that his wife's name was Jashodaben. For the first time, Modi has officially stated that he is married in an affidavit submitted along with his nomination papers filed for Vadodara Lok Sabha seat. So far, Modi used to leave the column of the spouse, which is to be filled in an affidavit, as blank. He had kept the column as blank even in 2012 Assembly elections. However, for the 2014 election affidavit, in the column where he had to declare assets in the name of his wife, Modi has written that he has no information on it. Though Modi didn't speak himself, his brother gave a clarification on the matter, but the revelation had Modi's opponents talking.
मैं ये समझता हूँ कि 2014 में उसमें उन्होंने ना भी नहीं किया है, यानी उन्होंने उसका इनकार भी नहीं किया, तो फिर मुझे क्या बताने का है।
मुझे खुशी इस बात की है कि इलेक्शन कमीशन की वजह से एक औरत को एटलीस्ट उसका न्याय मिला और उसके हस्बैंड ने कबूल किया कि मैं उसका हस्बैंड हूँ।
Now, the issue of China dumping its goods in the Indian market at prices less than what it takes to manufacture them here has shaken up Indian manufacturers. From a trade and economy-related concern, the issue has taken on political dimensions. The small and medium-scale sector is the worst hit, with political parties promising corrective action. Here's a special report on that.
Chemicals manufacturer Nosil India has suffered huge setbacks due to the China dumping factor. Despite meeting international production quality standards, insecurity reigns. Since 2005, demand has fallen sharply. China-made products are well on the way to taking over markets that Nosil once dominated.
Once the Chinese come in, they have the ability to kind of push out the domestic industry in such an effective way through their pricing, through their huge volumes and capacities that they have at their disposal.
Hundreds of small and medium factories in Mumbai have shut down for lack of profitability and business sense to carry on. Most have shifted from manufacture to trade to stay afloat.
There are cases where industry has substantially closed down, like people like in balloon industry, in at small scale, they have almost closed down.
China uses strong-arm tactics to ensure that there is no stop to supply. This it does by showing lower prices during customs checks and pushing in goods via a third country by showing them as non-Chinese. There is a heavy tax on export of raw material, which works to China's advantage. China also provides an array of export facilities for its own goods. Political parties in vote-seeking mode have come up with promises to curb dumping of Chinese products in the Indian market. The challenge to Indian industry is big enough, calling for urgent policy attention. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of India Votes. We're taking a short break, but news and updates continue. Goodbye.